What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, sir. How are you, doctor?
I'm well.
How's it going?
It's going, honey. You know me. You know the busy life of being me. Dear God. But we're doing well. We're doing well.
Honey, I'm feeling some sugar spikes coming. I'm feeling
From you,
articles that we have today,
from
honey.
all sugar spikes are gonna be coming from that ear. No, because one of them I probably will spike out. Matter of fact, hold on, let me
Listen,
get a snack. I still got a few more. I got like two more boxes of Christmas tree cakes. Don't judge me. I had bought like 20 boxes when they went on sale. You're judging me. You're judging me. You're judging me. So I think I got like two boxes left.
if
Listen,
I say I'm not judging you, will you believe me?
no, I won't believe you. Because I know you. You were judging me. So
I
but help
mean,
me with my sugar spikes.
okay. Mm.
Y'all
Well,
see
good
how she do
afternoon,
this?
everybody. Listen, we are here. We've got some really great stories to tell you guys. Great. I don't know, great is the right word, but um, don't do us, Tracy. Don't do us. Don't do us. Tracy got Skittles and gummies. Abby Carolyn is in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just gonna jump into
Hey
it because listen,
everybody.
we have some stuff that's just gonna make you lose your mind. Now, I'm gonna have to add the links in the description box afterwards because um I didn't do it beforehand. I don't have an excuse. I just have a reason. So
Blame her. Blame her.
I said me. I said me.
Mm.
Um, but let's go ahead and jump into this now. Normally, what do we say? We have Florida, Texas,
And
North
North
Carolina,
Carolina.
and Virginia. Those are usually the quad.
Oh, now we got a quadrilateral because you know it was the Holy
It
Bermuda
was the
Triangle, the
Trinity, right?
Holy
It was the
Trinity.
Trinity. But today, uh, we're hitting three of the four today. We have an article from Florida, we have an article from North Carolina, and we have an article from Virginia.
I'm
So
sure if
we're
we
hitting
search
three
hard
out of the
enough, we
four.
can find something that Governor Hot Wheels over there in
Oh yeah,
Texas.
we looked hard
Uh,
enough. I'm sure we could find something. Now, with that being said, we're going to start in the state of North Carolina,
listen,
where
do I need to read this article to give you
they have lost their damn
listen? Do I
mind.
need to read this article really, be so I can give you a moment to spike out? Look, I'm going to take the reins. Y'all know I normally don't do the reading, but I know this young lady over here is about to have a whole moment. So I'm going to read the article and I'm going to just let her go. And then I'll come in on the back end because I know where this is going. Okay. Let me read the article title, and that will give you a little indication of how she's about to spike. Go ahead and take you sugar, a piece of candy so you can not spike out, ma'am. Here's the title. The title says teachers being charged for hiring substitutes when taking personal days under new North Carolina law. According to Yahoo News, North Carolina teachers had to pay $50 to help foot the bill of hiring their own substitute when taking a personal day. Oh boy, sorry about that, y'all. Where's the rest of my article?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Really be. What
Yes.
did you do?
How's it my fault?
What did you do? Send me the other article.
That is the other article. It's the article you sent me.
Okay, hold on. I got it. Y'all hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk
Wait, why
among.
are they making the teachers pay? I know you lying. See, that's the problem. We're not. They not lying. That's the problem right there. They not lying because they absolutely are making teachers pay for their own subs. Absolutely, they are.
Hold on. Hold on. I got you. All right, here we go, right here. Jesus. All right. So, North Carolina teachers had to pay $50 to foot the bill for hiring their own substitute teacher when taking a personal day. Teachers were taking sick days to do personal type items to attend the funeral or sign paperwork. Really, that's not the purpose of a sick day, North Carolina Representative Jeffrey Elmore said. That's why Elmore proposed new legislation saying teachers who gave reasons for a personal day should not be charged for hiring a sub. The failure to give a quote valid reason could result in teachers being charged the full amount of hiring a replacement, which would double the $50 payroll deduction. How it was worded is the policy was enacted once the budget was signed into law and applied this school year, Elmore said. The new policy in the more than 600-page outline of the state's budget went into effect in November. The budget does not define what reasons are valid. Local schools and districts are trying to figure out how to implement the change. Quote, it's having to give a reason, and is there going to be an administrator where my reason wouldn't be good enough for them, said Val Young, who leads the Forsyth County Association of Educators. Now you're talking about me paying the entire amount of a sub, and that's like $100 or more, she said. We checked around the area, and the cost of a substitute in Guilford County can average between $115 and $140. The average of $85 at Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools is about $85 in Davidson County. Teachers earn two personal days a year. The potential $200 annual loss does not drive many teachers to debt, but the principle behind the deductions gnaws at some teachers in the triad, like Wendy Peoples, who said, I feel like a personal day is a personal day. No one should know why. Giving an excuse is like checking on you. If a teacher does not give a valid reason or one at all and no sub was hired for the day, they will be refunded the amount. So in essence, here's what we have. You decide that you're gonna take a sick day. They say, why you taking this sick day? And you need to give what they estimate to be the right reason for taking this sick day. And if not, you gotta pay. Well, they were all it sounds like really be they were already paying $50. And now instead of paying $50, they're going to be paying the entire amount for a sub. See, I want to stop them at the $50. First of all, why am I paying anything?
I have never in my career heard of a teacher having to pay for their own sub. I have never.
I was floored when people had to call. And I have heard of people calling or
Well,
having to
yeah,
find
yeah.
a sub.
When I worked in North Carolina, I was actually a sub in North Carolina, and that's what teachers had to do when they were going to be out. There was a number you called, and you called that number, and it would basically randomly dial. If you were registered in the system as a sub, you'd been through the process, and you were approved. You would get a phone call. It would tell you the school, the grade level, the subject, and you could either say yes, I'll take that job, or no. And if you said no, they would keep calling until somebody accepted the job. And teachers were responsible for doing that. But even that, it was random. It wasn't like you had a list and you had to go down the list. It would just randomly call people. Yeah, that I thought was a little bit much too. But I, I've never, I didn't even know that existed where teachers had to pay for their own sub. And now you want to, not only do you want to up it. Quintessential said in Chicago, subs are in the same union as teachers. Wow. Wow. Now I know down here, I think Baltimore County, because they're so short of subs, in Baltimore County, my understanding is that they're actually moving to get teachers to be a part of the same union, so that they could have like benefits and stuff like that, because they're desperate for subs. And that's the part that I'm not figuring out. Like, in a system where we're already desperate for what we have, and there's a shortage of all the way around the board, you're creating a worse this is the crazy listen. This is
Here's
the
the
craziest thing I've ever
disrespectful
heard in
part.
my life.
The disrespectful part is, see, what happened to true capitalism, and I might have my verbiage and nomenclature wrong. I go to really be on this kind of stuff. But isn't this like supply and demand? Doesn't supply and demand say if there's lower supply and higher demand, that you should have to pay more for that? Meaning, if there's a lower supply of teachers and a higher demand for same said teachers, shouldn't teachers' salaries be going up? Which they're not.
Huh.
Then, in order to add insult to injury, not only do you need me more, but not paying me more and require me to do more and not paying me more for the more that you're requiring me to do, then you want me to pay because I need to take a mental health day, or I need to have a day off to go to a funeral, or I need a day off to go take my child to uh,
The
doctor's appointment
doctor.
or something, or anything, and you telling me I gotta pay out of my money that you're not paying me enough of. You already ain't giving me enough money, ain't paying me what I'm worth. But then you want me to take out of my own pocket of the little bit of scraps that you're giving me to pay for a substitute as well.
And here's the thing. Now, I know, again, up here, I can't speak for everywhere. You only need to bring in a doctor's note after you've missed 3 consecutive days. So who's to say that the teachers don't just say, I have a doctor's appointment? Like, do they have to show proof in North Carolina? Do they have to show proof that they actually went to the, do they need to get a doctor's note for a doctor's appointment? Because up here, like I said, if you're going to miss more than 3 consecutive days, then you need to bring in documentation. But other than that, you could just say you have a doctor's appointment every time. I mean, I,
Or how about, you know what? I don't feel well today. I might not necessarily go to the doctor today.
right. I just don't
I need
feel
to
good.
lay my behind down because I don't feel well. I just need to lay down.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't. Again, it's that micromanaging. It's that treating us like we're children. And here's the problem. What you're doing is you're passing on your problem onto us, because the problem is there's already a teacher shortage. So whenever, and there's a substitute shortage. So whenever there's teachers that are out, it's putting a further strain on the schools and on the school system. But that's not our problem. That's not teachers' problems, and it's not sales problems. Pay people more money, show them some respect, act like you respect who they are and the fact that they have degrees. Most of them have multiple degrees. Treat them with the level of respect that they should get. And guess what? People will come back into the profession. But as long as you keep doing bullshit like this, we're never gonna
Listen,
get back to where we need to be as a profession.
we in the last during this pandemic has been a real seminal moment in education. And education, I said this last time we were live, and I'm gonna say it again. Education is going to be forever changed because of where we are in this last 2 years. Because let's be clear, people are having a mass exodus from regular good paying jobs. They're calling this what do they call it? The great
But
um
it's a name for it. I don't
it's
know
a
what.
name for it. It just removed me. I mean, it's just it just went from my head. But it's basically the great like everybody's quitting. What's the
Yeah.
name for it? But anyway, the point that I'm making is that's for industries where people are getting paid. And you're telling me in an industry where one, you're not paying people enough. Two, they got to deal with, I'm not going to say what I want to say, children who don't act as well as they should. I wanted to say something else,
Mm.
but I won't. And you're going to disrespect them further. You're having mass exodus from education that cannot be that undone. That's not going to be undone. And so now what that means is the quality. of education for a large, not all students, but for a large segment of the population has been diminished and may forever be diminished in a school system nationally that ranks one of the lowest in first world countries. Our school systems globally amongst first world countries ranks at the bottom. And you are depreciating that. Thank you, the great resignation. Thank you, Volvo. That's what it's called, the great resignation. But and you're depreciating the value and diminishing the value of the education system because you have great quality educators that are exiting stage left and are not coming back.
Nope.
Because what happens is they go somewhere where they are valued, appreciated, and compensated. And they
Yep.
said, "Oh, you want me to go back to where I was and take a pay cut and deal with parents?" And let's add this. See, y'all are only thinking it from that point. We haven't even touched on, which I think we are going to in a little bit, the whole parent aspect of it, and the fact that parents have lost their goddamn minds.
They've been
And
able to. We're gonna talk about that next. They've been able to lose their mind.
lost the entirety of their goddamn minds in what they are expecting and or what they are telling and wanting teachers to do. Mm-mm. Nope.
Yeah. Quintessential asked a good question. Quintessential said, "Is that in their contract? It doesn't sound legal." Well, what they're doing is they're passing a law.
Mm-hmm.
They're physically passing a law. So the law supersedes what's in the contract. They're passing a law.
Quintessential. The reason that North Carolina was in the trinity of horrible states is because North Carolina. I told you and probably on my one of my politics episode. I'm gonna really have to spend a whole live or two on North Carolina. There are so many laws that are being passed in North Carolina
Mm-hmm.
that are just so far. Like you would read these laws and think that you're in some other third world authoritarian country. And this is happening in the United States. And it's happening under the cloak of darkness. And a lot of the citizenship have no idea that these laws are on the book. And by the time it's too late, ignorance is not a defense. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, oh boy, it's just it's anyway. So that's that. Well, we might as well go on and move into what we said was next because let's go on up 95 85 to 95 and get on in here in Virginia. That defeats the whole purpose of giving them that small bonus, right? Because remember we reported, thank you for reminding me, Abby, remember we a story we did right before the holidays where North Carolina had to have down in Charlotte, they had to have an emergency school board meeting to pass a measure to give teachers a retention bonus because so many teachers were resigning. Well, this is not a way to make teachers want to stay in teaching. Like it doesn't make
Make it
sense.
make sense. Make it make sense, please.
Golly. Oh man. Anyway, well, let's go on up the road to 95. Governor Youngkin, who, if you guys remember, he's the same one that was blaming Toni Morrison for critical race theory, whatever. I just can't. I can't. Oh, they need to make so that licensed teachers can move and teach in every state. Well, pretty much you already can. If you, I mean, you have to get what's called reciprocity, but it's not hard. It's not hard to get reciprocity. You can pretty much, if you have a teacher's license in one state, it's really, I mean,
And
each
then
state has their own criteria, but
they
it's not
also offer nationally you can be board certified, which is a long process.
yeah,
But which kind of is a pseudo kind of, national
yeah.
certification kind of situation. So
So this and this is coming from The Washington Times, this is dated today. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. Now remember, he just became governor. He just was elected and he was inaugurated 2 weeks ago. Governor Youngkin unveils tip line to report divisive teaching concerns in schools. So let me read you guys this. Virginia governor has unveiled a tip line for parents to report divisive subjects taught in schools. Mr. Youngkin, a Republican, said that the tip line would hold schools accountable for their curriculum and parents should report any public educators who are behaving objectionably. And again, that is so subjective. Ugh. We're asking for folks to send us reports and observations that they have that will help us be aware of things like privilege bingo, be aware that their child is being denied their rights that parents have in Virginia. And we're going to make sure we catalog it all, Mr. Youngkin told a conservative radio host, John Fredericks, on Monday. Macaulay Porter, spokeswoman for Mr. Youngkin, said the tip line was set up to be a resource for parents to express questions or concerns about anything going on in school. The governor's office set up help education at governor.virginia.gov as a resource for parents, teachers, and students to relay any questions or concerns. Ms. Porter said in a statement, Governor Youngkin was elected to serve all Virginians and has utilized a customary constituent service to hear from Virginians and solicit feedback. Mr. Youngkin's initiative coincides with his plan to make education a central issue of his administration. He also nixed school mask requirement. Well, we already told you guys. That's the same one that... Oh, and as a follow-up to that story, in last week's show, we told you that Governor Youngkin, he got rid of the mask mandate in the state of Virginia for students. Now there are 6 school boards that are actually suing him right now over that mandate. So, what you got, doctor?
First of all, let's be clear. If we're really being honest, this was already in practice. It's very known when you get hired in education. You are told up front that your actions can, be reported to your local school district, your local school board, in or outside of the classroom. Very widely known, very well versed across the nation. So there's no reason for this. That's one. My other point to it is, first of all, this is just throwing red meat at the people over on that side that don't need any more red meat, okay? Because like Really B said, this is all subjective, which leads me to my third point. On this very same website where you got the hotline, have you dictated all of the things, a bullet point by bullet point description of what it is that would qualify as being a reason to make a phone call, a reason to do anything? Like, where do we draw the line? Because I could say, I don't want my child reading anything by anybody that's a Black author, whether or not they're speaking on the issues of race at all. I don't want that in my classroom. What happens then? What happens then? I mean,
And
where
again,
do
that's
we
why
draw
this
the
is
line?
dangerous. They were talking about it on the local news here. They actually did a poll asking, do you think that this is going to create more of a, I forgot how it's worded, but basically the paraphrase is, this going to create more of a strife between teachers and parents? And of course, the majority of the people say yes. Like, this is going to be a bigger divide for teachers and parents that are already struggling right now in this current climate. I agree with you, El Teddy. There are already things in place that if you feel like there's something going on that's not right in your child's school, in the classroom, if the teacher is doing something out of pocket, if things are being taught that you think aren't appropriate, I mean, there's already so many different ways that you can make your voice be heard. Why do we need yet another place for that? And like Quintessential said in the chat, what does that mean? Rhetorical, right? Because we know these are all buzzwords for what? for what we're dealing with right now in this current climate of education. This isn't about whether a teacher is cursing at a kid and being inappropriate. This isn't about whether a teacher is being physically abusive. This isn't about whether a teacher is going out, doing things that are harmful to students physically or even emotionally. This is all about the bullshit critical race theory, the hate mongering, the racist rhetoric. Like,
really
it's
be,
all of
and
that.
really be, I don't even mean to interrupt you, but the oxymoronic part of this whole article is when the stupid ass spokesperson lady said he's here to represent all of the constituents. Well, no, the hell he's not, because he's catering to and kowtowing to one specific segment of his constituency. Because if I'm a black parent and a member of that constituency, and I'm sitting here in the state of Virginia looking at him saying, what the hell do you mean you're trying to help me and represent me? Because what you're doing is you are telling my child that the history of his ancestry is not important and should not be taught. That's what you're doing. So don't tell me that he's here for the entirety of the whole of the state of Virginia, because clearly he's not. And he's made it a point to say that.
Tiki always right. Thank you so much. She said, I'm retired. I just donate to teachers' requests on Facebook. Had to help pay for kids' lunch last summer. Thank you so much, because teachers like me have always appreciated donations from people like you. So thank you so much for that. Me too, Quintessential. Quintessential said, I come from the days of corporal punishment, so what you gonna do? Diamond Pearl said, there were people upset because they don't want their kids to wear masks. Maskless students were put in another room and the parents complained about that. What the hell? Because it's not about being happy. It's about being heard and being loud and being, it's, oh God. I can't. Y'all, these stories today are so ridiculous. And again, I keep coming back to, if you want, first of all, it's not even about retention anymore. It's about new people coming into the profession. Kids aren't going to college to become teachers. They're not majoring in education. They're not. It is a struggle. I belong to an organization. It's a historical Black teacher sorority, and we have a scholarship, and the scholarship is specifically for kids, well, young ladies who want to major in education. And when I tell you, we struggle every year to give the scholarship away because it's so hard for us to find someone who wants to major in education. It's just not what people are doing anymore. And when you're constantly reading these types of things, it doesn't make you want to do it.
I'll
It
give you
just
a perfect
doesn't make you want to
example.
do it.
I'll give you a perfect example, really, B. Um, the School of Education at my fine institution was moved out of their traditional building to a much smaller building, and almost the entirety of the program is online and remote because there were so few students that they housed on campus, undergraduate students that were there for that program, that there were other majors and other programs that needed that space, for courses, and it didn't make sense for them to be housed in this big, large edifice anymore. And so the point that you're making is very valid. They moved it all to online, I've looked at the research and the numbers. About 80+% of their enrollment is postgraduate, meaning only people getting their master's and or specialists or their doctorate are in that program, because it ain't happening in undergrad. These are people who said, okay, now that I've graduated, I want it. And a lot of them did not graduate in undergrad with a degree in education.
Right.
They now have a profession and they are in that profession. And so now they are seeking, postgraduate degrees. But
Right. That's the
it
other
speaks
point that
to
I
your
was
point. And when you see, if I'm a child and I see the level of disrespect that that profession has to be subjected to on a daily basis, why would I ever want that for myself? When I
exactly.
see how that individual has to be disrespected from every angle, from administration, from the parents, from the students, from other staff members that don't teach. And why would anybody want to subject themselves to that? And then to add insult to injury, I'm not being compensated for this. Absolutely not.
And that's the other point I was going to make too. The reality is you really don't, because there is such a desperation and such a shortage in the field. You don't have to major in education. So you can go get a degree in economics. You can go get a degree in philosophy, psychology, business, any of these other areas. And if for whatever reason, you decide, oh, well, I want to try my hand at teaching, or whatever, you can always go back to teaching, because the field is so desperate for educators. You don't have to have an education degree. If we're moving to be permanent via hybrid online course because of the lack of teachers, do y'all hear about the SAT? Yeah, that's actually one of the articles that we have pulled for today as well below, about the
Let's see if
SAT
we
going
get to
online.
it.
Yeah, we actually pulled that article. So yeah, that's what's going on in the great state of Virginia. Um, Child. Okay. Do we want to go down to Florida now? You want to get on the plane, or you want to get back in the car and ride down 95 to 85 and go
Yeah,
on
let
down to
me get
Florida?
my
Or do you want to talk about the SAT now, since that came up, and then we can go
no,
to
no,
Florida?
let me get Florida out my system now because I need to.
It's not funny. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. All right, you guys. Buckle up, buttercup. This is actually an article coming from the Independent. It is, what's the date on this? Yesterday's date. No, it was updated 4 hours ago. So no, it was updated 4 hours ago. Hey, China White. Florida's, and this is in quotation marks, "Don't Say Gay" bill banning school children from discussing sexual orientation close to becoming a law. Now remember, they already passed the bill last week about, making people feel uncomfortable talking about race relations. Florida lawmakers are trying to pass a law that would limit classroom discussions about gender and sexual orientation. The bill would also give parents legal footing to sue schools or teachers who teach or discuss those topics. LGBTQIA advocates are calling the bill "Don't Say Gay" legislation, and fear that should it be adopted into law, it would suppress any discussion or teaching about LGBTQ history, oppression, or identity. Now, mind you, now I'm gonna finish reading the article first, because I'll be going left and then the article say it. So let me finish. This would erase LGBTQIA history and culture from lesson plans, and it sends a chilling message to LGBTQ plus young people and communities. Critics critics of the law fear that by effectively banning the discussion of gender and LGBTQ issues in the classroom, these students would feel as though their identities or sexual orientations are shameful. Heather Wilkie of Central Florida LGBTQIA advocacy group, the Zebra Coalition, told ABC News that an effective learning environment was one where students could feel safe and healthy. When you have laws like this that directly attack our kids for who they are, it prevents them from learning, she says. It prevents them from being able to be healthy. The bill is sponsored by Republican State Representative Joe Harding, who said in a tweet he hopes that it will reinforce the fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding upbringing and control of their children. Chasten Buttigieg, the husband of U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, was among the voices pushing back against the bill, claiming it would end with student deaths. This will kill kids. You are at Ron DeSantis. It was a tweet at Ron DeSantis. You are purposefully making your state a harder place for LGBTQ kids to survive in. In a national survey at the Trevor Project, 42% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide last year. Now they can't talk to teachers. The Human Rights Campaign reported that several states moved to pass laws restricting the rights of LGBTQ individuals, including Arizona, Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, and South Dakota. Yeah, below. Basically, the new Don't Ask, Don't Tell. El Teddy, you have the floor.
Normally, I'm supposed to be irate, angry, livid, incensed, losing my goddamn mind with this. However, I find myself saddened by this. If you recall, those people who follow my, who subscribe to my regular channel, we did a politics of it all about 2 weeks ago. And we went down the road of what was going on in Texas, where the state of Texas had said that they were going to remove all mental health resources for LGBTQ. They were removing all resources, literature, and anything related to LGBT in school systems. And they had passed a bill to remove all of these things from public libraries. Do you hear me? So you have no resources to any child to read about what's happening to them. You have no resources to a child. I ain't even talking about the adults. To a child to get help of mental help for their mental stability about what they're experiencing and what's going on. And if you have never been an adolescent or a child who's in the community, you have no idea of the turmoil that goes within the mind of a child battling with their own selves, battling with who they are and what they are. I know I've been there. And that is why the Trevor Projects, thank God for them and a lot of the work that they did. They've been reporting on these things and putting the numbers out. And the suicide rates are rising. And instead of children being able to go to the schools to get help, mind you, that's sometimes their only outlet. That's sometimes the only place and refuge that they have. Because when they go home, they don't have refuge. They don't have safety at home. And so they have to have an outlet at school, somebody who's going to say, it's okay. You're okay. Let me help you. Let me give you some resources. And now what you're saying, not to adults, to children, is that you cannot have that. No resources for you. You can't discuss what's going on with you. And this coming out of the mouths of the very same governors who are saying, we're here for the children. These are the very same governors that are siding not with children, but with small segments of the adult population who only want things to be ultra Christian, ultra conservative, and ultra white. Period. And that the stake of all of this, you decide that it's better for our children to be committing suicide as opposed to having conversations with them and getting the help that they need. So I unfortunately I can't be angry because I'm saddened because I was that child before, because I know what that feels like not to have resources, because I grew up at a time where having resources to help you was unheard of. And so now, when we're supposed to be in a day where we're in the information age and there's limited resources, you're telling me that you're limiting resources. You're telling me that a child has to be quiet about what they're experiencing and who they are and just internalize it because you just think that magically it's going to work itself out. No, what's going to happen is the suicide rate is going to continue to increase. And not only the suicide rates, what you're doing also is you're telling the people who want to bully those children that it's open season, because you said you're not allowed to talk about that. You're not allowed to express that. You're not allowed to have any parts of that openly. And so what that gives credence to the people who don't want them to express themselves, talk about it, to be vocal about who they are and fight for that. That's giving them credence, and that's making it open season for them to go in and let have. It's not anger. It is. I'm saddened at this because what does this? Why is it that myself and my generation and people who went through things and fought and marched and did all of these things to try to do better for the generation after us, why is it that these kids nowadays have to be subjected to things back in the day, things that we were supposed to have come out of? Why are we here? I really be I'm going to be quiet because I could get very passionate and very emotional about this, and it's very disheartening. Like these are dangerous times because, like I said, we had this in Texas. It's moved to Florida. You just read off a list of states that's happening, and this is something that's going to start sweeping the country. We are living in some dystopian period of life that none of us 10 years ago could have even dreamed we'd be in. Where the hell are we right now? Like, I have no idea what the hell is going on right now because I don't know how we're here. I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead, because I've lived this. I know this. I know what this feels like, and this is nothing to even smile about. Laugh. It's an awful feeling to know that another child has to be subjected to some of the stuff that I had to be subjected to some 20 plus years ago. This is awful. I don't have any more words.
So honestly, I'm really fighting back tears. I am not a member of the LGBTQIA community. However, I am the school sponsor for our gay straight alliance, for lack of a better word. That's not what we call it at my school, but just so everybody understands what it is. And I know in my 20 plus years of education, the conversations that I've had with students who, like El Teddy just said, questioning, feeling isolated, confused, so many words to put into that, and couldn't talk to their parents or were scared to talk to their parents or didn't even know how to articulate. Sometimes it was, it's not even always about giving advice. It's just giving people a place to talk. And I can't imagine not being able to be that person for a student. Again, this is not a way to make people want to be in this profession. It's just not. Tiki Always Right said that they were a biology teacher and they can't, they are sitting here thinking about how careful they would have to be teaching the subject in which you're paying me to teach. But now I have to be careful and jump over landmines to make sure that there's certain things I don't say. But we're talking about biology. We're talking about the body and how it works and the different. We're talking about these things. I teach psychology. There's whole chapters in my book about sexuality. The social studies curriculum has expanded in the last few years to include, and they addressed this in the article, but to include LGBTQIA history. So again, on top of, you don't want me to teach about slavery, well, you don't want me to teach about the indigenous people, it's like, well, what the hell else do you want me to talk about? It's not making people want to do this. And then on top of all of that, you don't pay me that damn much to do it. El Teddy said it. We are living in some very dangerous times. And what's going to end up happening is people are going to want to rewind the clock and say, well, how did we get here? Well,
I don't. When I think about this story, I just think I always. What makes me so sad is remembering a young L Teddy 27 who had to be quiet about everything and who had to just not have an outlet or not have a place to go, and being at times suicidal and being at times so just mentally unstable, and just knowing what a young person nowadays living where I lived and growing up where I grew up in Florida and having to deal with this. I mean, you have students who have to worry about things like getting gunned down in school and the state of Florida not doing anything about that. You have, as a black male, this attack on the whole black race, and you have to deal with that. Then you say, "Oh yeah, we're not going to talk about black people in school, so we can't talk about that." Oh no, you say you're a part of the community. We're not going to talk about that. So everything you're going through, yeah, just try to internalize that and deal with that the best way you can. Don't have any outward expressions of that. Don't have any outward, things to say. What do you want from kids? It's bad enough. You shouldn't even be doing this to adults, but these are children. What do you want from kids? What do you want from them? Like, what else do you want from a child? Ron death sentence in the state of Florida. What else do you want from them? Like, what are you doing? Like, as an adult, our job as the adult community is to protect the children and to nurture them, educate them, and prepare them for their adult life. And we are failing miserably. Everywhere you turn, we are failing miserably. And when history is told, this period of time will be looked at like, what in the world? I shudder to think, after we are all dead and gone, what will be said about this period of time.
Hmm. You guys, told y'all we had some doozies for y'all today. I told y'all we had some doozies. Um, we'll keep y'all updated on that. Let's talk about the SAT, and then that'll probably be what we have for y'all today. Quintessential, thank you for the cash app. Thank you, love.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had to stop because I felt myself tearing. I was
well, no,
going
I
through
did.
that,
That's what
but
I said. I literally was. I when you were talking, I was just thinking about my students. I was just thinking about my students. I know, right? We needed to pull a feel good story today. I don't think we have one.
good
This is the
God.
closest we're gonna get. The closest we're gonna get is this SAT story. Sorry, y'all. I ain't have it. I didn't have it today. I'm sorry. I didn't have it. This article is coming from high powered. Excuse me, Lord. I done made up a whole name. Higher Ed Dive. Lord, I made up a whole name. I don't know where I got high powered from. This was published on January the 25th, 2022. The SAT will be delivered digitally in the US starting in 2024. While the College Board is touting the simplicity and accessibility of the new version, skeptics don't think it will solve equality issues related to the exam. Pencils down. Students will soon no longer take the SAT in a traditional paper format and will instead do so digitally. The College Board um, announced Tuesday. The new virtual version of the test will start internationally in 2023 and in the US in 2024. Students still must sit for the exam at a school or testing center. However, they will be able to use their own laptops or tablets or one of the schools or the college board gives them. The nonprofit testing provider, that's bullshit, nonprofit anyway. Since when is
Right.
the college board nonprofit? Anyway, says they changed the format benefits students and educators, simplifying it while preserving the exam's core structure. It also said it plans to address students' unequal access to technology while moving the exam virtual. But skeptics doubt the changes will fix broader equality issues related to the test. I don't think this will support access to higher education any more than a paper test does, said Colin Palmer, director of undergraduate admissions at the University of Toledo in Ohio. Enrollment managers have long assumed an electronic SAT was in development. In the early months of the coronavirus pandemic, the College Board and its competitor, the ACT, said they would craft at home versions of their products in case social distancing was still in effect at the height of testing season. We did a show on that. We talked about that. They did do online testing during when we were at home, and we did a whole
Mhm.
show on that. You guys can go back and look at the archives. We talked about that. The College Board scrapped its plan in 2020, citing the challenges of test takers finding a reliable internet connection for 3 hours. It also faced criticism during that time for its online administration of advanced placement exams. Students said they couldn't submit their AP exam answers and sued the College Board that year. IB and AP were online that year. The
Mhm.
organization went on to pilot another digital iteration of the SAT in November 2021 with fewer than 500 students, and said that as well as educators met with this approval. The College Board touted how it is streamlining the assessment, trimming it from roughly 3 hours to 2 hours, and shortening reading passages. The new version will still be scored on a 1600 point scale. The digital SAT will be easier to take, easier to give, and more relevant. Yeah. The pandemic hampered students testing at traditional sites, prompting wide constituent of colleges to no longer require SAT or ACT scores, albeit some temporarily. More than 1,800 four-year colleges aren't mandating scores for fall 2022. These shifts spelled trouble for the testing giants, which have hemorrhaged revenue as fewer students sat for the SAT and ACT. About 1.5 million students in the class of 2021 took the SAT, down from down from 700,000 students from 2.2 million in 2020. And honestly, y'all, that's what this is about. And that's why I said I don't know why they even said it was a nonprofit, because it is absolutely a for-profit organization. I don't know where they got nonprofit
Right.
from. I read a little bit more. This is the I read a little bit more. This is under critics remain unconvinced. Critics of entrance exams say they are racist instruments that favor wealthy students who can pay for extensive tutoring while boxing out disadvantaged populations. The testing providers have denied these accusations, saying the exams buoy low income students into giving them a chance to showcase their academic prowess and linking them to financial aid. The College Board put a fresh coat of paint on the test, a typical move in its playbook, but did not remedy the systematic problems, said Andrew Plumbo, Vice President of for Enrollment Management at Worcester Polytech Institute in Massachusetts. It's Palumbo, said he doubts the College Board will be able to handle the complex logistics of delivering a digital test, citing security issues with international administration of the paper SAT, as well as the Varsity Blues scandal, which involved bribing test proctors. Shifting an unnecessary bias, coachable, and poorly predictive multiple choice exam that few schools currently require from pencil and paper delivery to an electronic format does not magically transform it into a more accurate, fair, or valid tool for assessing college readiness. What you got?
Well, I think that the SAT is going to end up, and ACT will end up being like the GRE. If you recall years ago, really be remember, I know when I first got in college, and it changed during my college tenure, but definitely when you were in school, way back when the world was in black and white. I'm sorry. I love you. I love you. But no, if you recall, in order to get to grad school, remember how important the GRE was? Remember where it was like you took the GRE and you couldn't get into grad school unless you took the GRE or some other postgraduate exam. Like if you were going to law school, you took the LSAT. If you were going to medical school, the
Yeah, the MCAT.
you were going to dental school. They had everybody had the test. So there was this requisite test. But the GRE was the big one that covered a whole lot more. And I remember coming out of school, and there was this shift where it was like half and half. Half the graduate schools wanted the GRE, and half didn't. When you start, a lot of graduates start to gravitate toward those schools that said, "Yeah, we don't really need no GRE score." And so now I don't know anybody that takes the GRE at this point. You know, this is just not a
I don't
requirement,
even know if that's a thing anymore.
right? And you know what I'm saying? And so I could see the SAT and ACT getting to that point because so many schools at this point are like, yeah, we not because they don't trust the validity of the exam anymore. And so
Mhm.
now they're saying, okay, we can get wonderful and good students without that test. Why the hell are we even requiring our students to take it? Nah, we good over here. And so you're going to see students now start to say, okay, I'm going to gravitate toward these schools that don't um, require the GRE. And once the students start taking listen, their talents to schools that don't require the SAT and ACT, I should say, and their money's there. Even the schools that have been staunch ACT, SAT proponents that have been in bed with College Board year after year after year after year, even the Ivy Leagues, they're going to graduate against away from that, gravitate away from that because money talks and money speaks volumes. And when tuition you know, starts to go down, it's gonna, and I think what'll end up happening is SAT will then put all of their monies on the AP side. Now I could see that where SAT says, "Now we're gonna put all our eggs in the AP basket," and the ACT people will then come up with their own um comparable, assessment that
I can
that
see that.
will.
Yeah,
That's
I can
where I
definitely
see
see
this
that.
going. But we're at the point now where the SAT and the ACT are going to become obsolete. And I think it's a good thing, especially for students of color, because we already know the gap in fairness with regard to some of these standardized. And you're talking to somebody who did well on the SAT, really well on the SAT, but I understand that it's not written for us. It's just not. And if you go back to some of the history of it, it was designed to keep us out. Let's be clear.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. As somebody who, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna go ahead and call a spade a spade. I actually benefited from the online test. I know my students, my AP students, did better the year that it was an online exam. I got some great AP scores last year. And honestly, I know that it was because they did it online and they had to adjust the exam so much. So, are my scores, do they hold up? It's kind of like having that asterisk in sports for a season that was shortened or something like
Hmm.
that. It's sort of the same thing. And I think I agree with you 100%. I really think that the only reason I think that the ACT and the SAT are holding on, they're like hanging off the side of a cliff and they're holding on for dear life
Hmm.
to
They're
stay
trying to
relevant.
remain relevant, and they're not
Because
anymore.
yeah, gone are the days that this was the make or break as far about you getting into college. I mean, the SAT was the make or break, and those days are just long gone. Even connected to you getting financial aid or you getting scholarships, there's so many other criteria that people are looking at, and I just think those days are long gone. So on one hand, and as somebody who didn't do that great on their SATs, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm all right with it. They'll probably find something else, and that's just the way of the world. But I agree with you though. I do because the college board's not going to go anywhere. But I
Right.
agree that they'll just push their resources in other places. Yeah, I agree with you with
I think the AP test will be their bread and butter, only because students stand to save a lot of money.
that.
And it helps both. If you can get, out of a class because you took it in AP in high school, and a lot of districts, not every, but a lot of districts pay for the AP for a child. The AP exam does cost, but most school districts, just incur that cost, and they make it, the prerequisites to get in their AP class, much higher. But they'll go ahead and pay for your child to sit for that exam. And if they pay them, and if they're paying for that exam, and so for free, you can get college credit. Oh, I could absolutely, because please be clear, like you said, College Board is gonna get there some kind of way. They are still in bed with most universities and colleges, and so they'll find a way to get their money on the back end. And I think that I could see AP score, test administrations going up, but the money that they charge for the AP administration, I could see that going up as they try to make up for the loss in the SAT.
I agree. Well, you guys, we say we hold you to an hour and we try to stick with it. I'm sorry if today's episode was heavy. But we don't make the news, y'all. We just make you aware of what's going on. And hopefully it will anger you enough to go out, as we always say, and be involved. You don't have to be a parent to be involved. You can go to your school board meetings. You can let your voice be heard. You can go find out more information about some. If you live in some of those other states we mentioned, find out if these laws are coming down the pipeline, and maybe get involved with some organizations like the Trevor Project and other organizations that are trying to fight against those laws. If you live in North Carolina or you live in Virginia, get involved in definitely Florida. Get involved with some of these issues that you had, maybe you had issue with. That's redundant, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. And as always, our goal here is to educate. So sorry it was a little heavy, but that's what's going on. That's what's going on. Doctor, I'll let you have the final word.
I mean, yeah, things are heavy, but that's the one thing that we have to contend with. Life is not always good. And we have to know and understand that these things are happening. And if we don't make ourselves uh, uh, knowledgeable about what's happening, by the time we find out, it may be too late to do anything about it. And so that's why a lot of times we try to be on the forefront of some of these things and try to tell you way in advance what's going on, so that there is enough time that you can make a call to your local representative, or the person representing your district area or whatnot, so that you can call your family members who may have children in school, or you can talk to some of your friends who may be teachers and or in education and things like that, and see what can be done. But the reason education is so important is it's the educating of the next generation of adults, the next generation of people who will be influencers, possibly for some of us when we are elderly and we are left to be subjected to what these people make decisions on. Inevitably, we're all going to get there, and we have to be forward thinking and thinking about what's to come. And if we're not doing a good job of educating children to be tolerant, to be open, to be accepting, to allow the full gamut of the human experience, we are in for dark times. And the reason we talk so much about history, that old thing, if you don't learn from history, it will repeat itself. If you don't know where you came from, you're going to go back down that road. So we have to, which is why I was so saddened today, because I feel like history is repeating itself where they're taking some of these kids back to where it was when I was a child. And I never want a child to experience that. It's
Right.
awful. So I'm glad y'all stuck with us today, and I'm glad we had a chance to get all of this stuff out. We'll try. I guess that's our goal. Really, be we'll try to have one feel good.
Yeah, we'll
We
we'll
have
make that
so
an
many.
effort. We'll make
Yeah,
that effort to have a feel good that
I
maybe we
have a
can
feel
always
good.
end. You know how the news always ends with like, the pig racing contest down to the county fair or
Hmm.
some funny TikTok video. So maybe
I sent you
we'll
a funny Instagram video today too
you
that
did
I
that.
tagged you in.
Maybe we can end with Eddie B because he's funny and he
He
takes
is.
the craziest stuff and he's funny. I actually want to see him when he goes back out on tour. I actually want to go see him. We had 32 people in the chat today, so I want to thank everybody who's here. If this is your first time being here, please go ahead and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Um, Go on and subscribe and share us out. Thank you to all of our regulars who come through, and I know you guys share us out, and you let everybody know what we have going on over here. I lied and said that he would get the last word, but I do have a question that I do want to address. Lula Joy said, but isn't dual enrollment going to eventually make AP classes obsolete? Eventually, yes, but I don't see it in the immediate.
I don't know that it will, only because College Board is such a big thing,
Different.
and just to be able to take dual enrollment, the for requirement for both AP and requirement for dual enrollment is both such a big thing. And for dual enrollment, it requires a lot of times for those students to leave campus, and so forth, which does present another set of obstacles and problems that in and of itself. And you also have minors in the company of adults on a college campus, and then there's that whole thing as well, which some parents may not be okay with. So it's just a whole lot. I think there's going to be a space for both of them in tandem, as there has been over the. That's why one hasn't taken over for the other one yet.
We do. Lula Joy, we take suggestions. Email us at the teacher project 2.0 at gmail.com. It's scrolling down here at the bottom. Or you can send us a message on Instagram at the underscore teacher underscore project underscore 2.0. We definitely are welcome to questions, criticisms, concerns, suggestions, all of the above. We absolutely, absolutely are.
Shout
Um,
out to all of the people listening on podcasts all over the
Everyone
globe.
who is listening to us, and our viewership on the podcast is going up because probably we're being a little more consistent on our end. So that's definitely looking good. So yeah, shout out. And again, if you're listening to us somewhere in your car, go ahead and come on over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. You get to see our beautiful faces. But with that being said, you guys, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to get out of here. We will be back next week to discuss some other issues in education. I will definitely make sure I check the email and be looking out for any suggestions, or y'all can send us articles if there's things going on locally in your area that you want us to discuss. By all means, listen, we are here for all of that. Amazon is paying to be high school curriculum to prep them for jobs. Oh, please send us that information. Oh yes, thank you. I'll definitely be looking for that because woo, that's a conversation to be had so that we can have. All right, you guys, we can ready to get out of here. Thank y'all so much. Peace.